Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So I would like to start off today by showing you some images. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to look at a few images, and as you look at them, let me know what you think of them. So the first emoji says it's just okay, and then you may also love it. So let me know what you think. So first we have a bridge being built. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Okay? It's okay, right? I wouldn't go on that bridge, but it looks okay. Let's go to the next one. What do you think of that art? I hear okays. Okay, let's see the next image. We see a baby. This baby right out of the womb. Has blood on it and all that stuff. Is it baby cute yet? No, not quite cute yet. Hopefully later on. Let's go to the next one. Caterpillars. You guys like caterpillars? No, okay, no one likes caterpillars. Okay, I think every Tashin likes caterpillars. That's it. Next image. Okay, clay. Anyone just like clay? Does that look like something you'd want to display in your house? No, I would not want to display that in my house. Okay, next image. So if you look at something in the middle of the process or the beginning of the process of being made, it might not look that great. But let's go to the next image. If you look at the end result, you'll think very differently. So the bricks and stones that you saw earlier are actually the Brooklyn Bridge in the middle of being constructed. Have any of you guys been to the Brooklyn Bridge before? Yes. Some of you guys, it's beautiful, isn't it? Well, I don't think it's beautiful. So, and look at that. But look at what it looked like at the very beginning of its construction. Let's go to the next image. The doodle you actually saw were the outlines of this painting. Can you believe that those doodles ended up becoming this masterpiece? Can you guys believe that? Maybe you can, but let's go to the next image. The baby now freshly cleaned up and cute. The baby looks a lot different now, right? Let's go to the next image. A butterfly coming from its cocoon. Do we like butterflies here? Yes. Yes. Caterpillars not so much. Butterflies, yes. Our next image. The clay eventually will become beautiful pottery if it is gone through a full process. And our next slide. So my topic for today is God is not finished with you yet. And I really thought of this because I think of myself and who God is creating me to be. And something I just kept thinking of was when I was a kid, and I think currently still my parents have this magnet. There was a dog, in this case it's a cat, and the dog was like messing something up. And right next to the dog it said, be patient, God isn't finished with me yet. And that's the topic, that's the message I want to focus on today. So my first point is we only see the broken. Wherever we are right now, whoever we are right now, we only see ourselves in the beginning of that process. We only see ourselves as how we are broken. And that's like those images we saw at the beginning. Maybe some of you guys are like that clay, or you're like that outline of a beautiful drawing. Right now, you are only seeing the very beginning of what God is going to create. And when we look at the Bible, we see connections as well. So this is actually taken from the book Living Courageously by Joyce Meyer. But we're going to be looking at the story of Gideon. God called Gideon to deliver his people. What an amazing thing for God to call someone to do, right? Yeah, right? Yes. Yes? Okay, if you're one person, say yes. However, when Gideon was called, he was a coward and referred to himself as the least in his family. So there's a little bit of a disparity here. We see in Judges 6:15 it says, "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." I can't speak for everyone here. I don't know how everyone feels like or your walk with God, but I know that in my life many times I have felt, why is God asking me to do this? Why does he feel like I am good enough to do something that he's asking me to do? Gideon only saw himself as he actually was. He looked at himself and he recognized himself as a coward, and he called himself as a coward. As a teacher, one of the biggest hurdles I see in so many students is not their ability level, not their intelligence. It is their lack of self-esteem. I worked during summer school with a student who was extremely smart. He was one of the smartest kids in the class, but somehow he was in summer school every single year. We gave him a task of writing a 5-page paper, and he told me flat out that he just could not write a single page. He decided right from the beginning, I can't write a page. I cannot do this. But for me, I kept pushing him a little further. Okay, you think you can't write a page? Can you write a page? Can you write 75% of the page? Can you write 1 page? Can you write a page and a half? And I kept pushing him slowly, and he ended up writing 4 pages when he thought he could not even write 1. This same student who thought he was horrible in English, that he could never do well, that he was bound to always fail summer school, he took the English Regents, which is notoriously a very hard exam, and got 89% on it. This kid who thought that he could do nothing, could not even write a page. So, this is the amazing truth of God. We see ourselves as we are currently, we see ourselves in our current reality, but God sees who we will be. God sees who you will be. So when God sees us, he doesn't look at those people around you. May see those stones, they may see that outline of an image, they may see that clay, and think, why are you doing that? Why are you going forward and doing that for the Lord? But God sees that finished product. He sees what will happen at the end. So God didn't call Gideon what he was. He called him what he would be. And in Judges 6:12 we see this. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." He calls him mighty warrior. Gideon looks at himself as a coward, and God calls him a mighty warrior. That's the God we serve. Whatever you are, whatever inadequacies, whatever failures you have, we serve a God who looks at us and calls us mighty warriors. That's the God that we serve. One of God's greatest promises is even in our weakness, even in the midst of trial or scary things that God calls us to do, he will be with us. So he tells us, the Lord is with you. And we see later in Exodus 33:14, the Lord replied, "My presence will go with you and I will give you rest." This is God's promise to us. Even when we don't feel like we're enough and God is calling us to do something, he will be with us in the midst of those scary things that he is calling us to do. And the next point I want to make is any growth requires pain. We look at those images, we see the beautiful pottery, we see something that's so beautifully created, and I think so many of us think, yeah, I want that, I would love to be that or have that, but we don't think about the process that someone has to undergo. So how many of you cook on Saturday mornings? Shireen's raising her hand, she cooks. You cook Saturday mornings, Fridays. So my mom, for my entire life, she cooks either Friday if she's working Saturday, or Saturday she cooks her meals for the entire week. And over the years, I've learned that she starts at 11 and she finishes around 1:30, 2 p.m. So this is going to make me look really bad, but I've learned over the years to go to the kitchen at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. when the food is fully done being cooked. So over time, my mom would get a little annoyed. Where were you at 10, 11, 12, 12:30? Like, where were you this whole time? I just come for the very end when the chicken curry is ready, the rice is already cooked, and whatnot. And Kezia is laughing, Shireen's laughing because she's seen this before, she knows this. But my mom eventually got tired of this and she said, okay, like, you have to come, you have to help. If you're here, you're going to help us cook. So I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to come. I'll come at 11. I was watching TV anyway. Like, I'll come down and help. It is much harder than it looks. Cooking chicken curry, cooking Indian food, it looks like something, well, I guess it doesn't look that easy, but it is a very strenuous and tiring process. And if you just look at the chicken curry at the end, yeah, that's easy. It's easy to eat it, but it is not easy to go through the process of cooking it. And I think in some of our lives, God wants to do something really amazing. He wants to work in us in incredible ways. But if you want the chicken curry, you have to be willing to sit and cook that meat. You have to be willing to go through that process and be willing to do everything that is required of you if you want that end product. And that's the same thing with our lives. Many times in my own personal life, I'm tempted to feel disappointed because of mistakes that I've made. But I'm reminded of Thomas, even God's disciple. He failed because he doubted. But God will work through you even in your mistakes. So the other disciples, this is John 20, verse 25. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hand, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." So there are times in our lives where we make mistakes, where we fall short, but that doesn't disqualify you from being used by God. But that also means that God has to work in you, and he has to change something in you, and that may become a painful process. So why would God still use someone like Thomas, though he doubted? Why would God use us even when we make mistakes? Well, God knows that we are in the process of being made, and he is molding us into who he has called us to be. Do any of you watch or listen to Caleb? Some of you listen to Caleb. All the little kids listen to Caleb. Okay. How many of you know the song Masterpiece? So, okay, all the little kids know Masterpiece. So this song, it really spoke to me because it says, you're making a masterpiece. You're shaping the soul in me. You're moving where I can't see. All I am is in your hands. God is moving where we cannot see. Hallelujah. He is molding us into who he wants to be. You're taking me all apart. God is taking us apart like it was your plan from the start, to finish the work of art for all to see. You are making a masterpiece. So my next plea to you is, if you are experiencing pain in your life, if you are experiencing something hard, another pot. With his hands, he shaped the pot the way he wanted. God shapes us. God shapes that clay, that pot, to be exactly as he wishes for it to be. What are the areas in our lives in which God is calling us to change? What areas do we need to be more disciplined? Do we need to grow in patience? So ironically enough for me, I guess it's not ironic, I have a really hard time being patient, and I've always really struggled working with people. I would rather work alone. I hated doing group projects growing up. I just wanted to be on my own and then see people a different time. And ironically enough, for the job I currently have, I work with people all day. I'm a co-teacher. I work with another teacher. I collaborate with them. I talk with them. I have to share my opinions and ideas with another person all throughout the day. And when I first started, I kept thinking, I need a different job. I can't do this. I don't want to work with people and grow, and this required a lot of patience out of me. My mom would keep asking me, what is God teaching you in this season? What is God teaching you through this job? And over time, I think God has been teaching me to work with other people, to be more patient and to be kinder. But unless I'm willing to go through that circumstance in which I need to work with someone else, how can God have that finished product? How can I become more patient? When we look at Jeremiah 18:11, it says, So Jeremiah said to the people of Judah and those who live in Jerusalem, This is what the Lord says, I am the potter, preparing troubles for you. Can you imagine hearing that? I am the potter, preparing troubles for you. God is preparing troubles for you and making plans against you. So stop doing the evil things you're doing. Each person must change and start doing good. Anytime you change, there will be some kind of pain. Anytime you are growing, there will be pain. But this is not a bad thing. Do any of you like going to the gym? Okay, do any of you go to the gym? That's a better question. I saw one person raising their hand. Okay, so I started taking these ballet sorts of classes, and the first time I went, I thought I was doing an amazing job. It's very easy. It seems like a very simple workout. You just move your hand in a certain motion. You move your foot in a certain motion. And I was doing this, and I saw other people, and they were sweat coming down their forehead, and everyone was so exhausted, and I was doing it so easily. And I was thinking, man, this is awesome. I'm doing this workout so well. And then the teacher comes by me, and she's like, you're not doing this right, and lifts my leg up, 2 feet higher than it was, and I'm suddenly in excruciating pain. And she tells me, if it's not hurting, you're not doing it right. And that's a lesson for a lot of us. If you want to build muscle, if you want to grow, if you go to your workouts and you don't feel any pain, you haven't succeeded, you haven't grown, you haven't built anything new. If you're going to your classes, and I remember as a kid I used to think this, why, when I'm in 5th grade, I wish I was taking 4th grade stuff so I could be the smartest person and have this easy thing to learn. But when something is harder, that's where you are growing. If it is easy, you are not growing. So my challenge for you is those times in your life where things feel really hard or God is asking you to do something really difficult. View that instead as God is molding me. God is changing me. God is creating this masterpiece in me. So when God puts me in this difficult circumstance, I will grow because of this.
Hallelujah.
Philippians 1:6 gives us an amazing promise. It says, being confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. This is another Caleb song, but Lauren Daigle, in her song, You Say, she hears these voices in her head telling her that she is not enough. Every single lie that tells her that she will not measure up. But God tells us, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short. You say I belong. You say I am yours. And we believe what he says of us. So going back to that story of Gideon, all those areas in our lives where we feel we are weakest, God is inviting us to tell us we are not what we think we are. God thinks we are strong. God will make us strong in those places where we feel as though we are weak. When you do not feel as though we belong, God tells us that we are his. So whatever area you feel like you're not enough, God has a different narrative that he tells us. I want to close with sharing a story of a butterfly. A man found a cocoon of a butterfly, and one day a small opening appeared. He sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as it suffered, struggled to force its body through the tiny hole of the cocoon. Then it stopped to make any progress. It appeared as if it had gotten as far as it could, and it could go no further. So the man decided to help the butterfly. He took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining bit of the cocoon. The butterfly emerged easily, but it had a swollen body and small, shriveled legs. The man continued to watch the butterfly because he expected that at any moment the wings would enlarge and expand and be able to support the body, which would contract in time. Neither happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of his life crawling with his swollen body and shriveled legs. It was never able to fly. What the man, in his kindness and haste, did not understand was that restricting the cocoon and the struggle required the butterfly to get through the tiny opening were life's way of forcing fluid from the body of the butterfly into its wings so that it would be ready for flight once it achieved its freedom from the cocoon. So it needed to break through this cocoon in order to be able to spread its wings. Sometimes struggles are exactly what we need in our lives. Nature needs no help, just no interference. There are processes in life, things we all go through. The struggles are a part of the journey and are preparing us for what awaits. They are preparing us to fly. So today, my challenge for all of you is, who has God created you to be? What is that masterpiece that God has created you individually to be? In what ways are you experiencing pain? In what ways are you growing? May God bless you with these words.